All right, good evening, everyone. Can we all hear me, please? I'm like, good evening, everyone. So let me all know if you can see my screen before we commence. Please let's confirm if we can hear me, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So once again, we welcome everyone to the Pishons Academy. It's an honor to have everyone here, and for every one of us that has kept following and also doing the needful when we get to tell every one of you to fill up the form and do some other necessary things. We are glad that everybody adhered to the information that was actually shared across. So I'd just like us to, before we commence into the main class, so I just want to brief us about the Pishons Academy, who we are, and everything that we are here, and the aim at which the academy was actually established. So the Pishons Academy is a group of professionals, individuals that are working in the creative industry, and the academy was established as a passion that was born in us long time ago, because then we are we motivate ourselves, we kept pushing ourselves in order to make us be the best version of ourselves, like individually, because well, most of the people that are actually founders and co-founders are they are a bunch of friends that have started like a long time ago, maybe like up to 6 or 7 years being friends and seeing ourselves grow. It's what inspire us as well, because then we know that we motivate ourselves to be a better version of ourselves. So I'm going to be taking us through the people that are actually behind the inventive minds behind the Patience Academy. So the Patience Academy consists of five founders. We have the co-founders, we have four founders and four co-founders, and the founder as well. So we have Abraham Salawu, we have Oluwaseun Sholanke, and I myself, pardon me, I'm Ogoluwa Mosaku, so the founder of the Pishons Academy, and alongside we have Peter Adegoke, the co-founder as well. We have Temitope Aileru, the co-founder as well. So of recent, we shared a kind of short bow about every one of us, which we share the link on our social media platforms. So should in case any one of us missed out on that, we can actually go back and take a look. So it's on our social media platform, and I believe that every one of us has the link to access that. So if we don't, we can actually ask for it on the class group. So it's going to be shared with us once again. So and again, so some people tend to ask, why is the Patience Academy free? Just as I said earlier, it's like a passion that was birthed in us a long time ago. Because remember back then, we all have best friends like that. That we grew up together, or we tend to, anytime we are in need of anything, we reach out to them. I know these things doesn't cost us anything like that. Like okay, it's just for you to say, okay, my friend, okay, I need this so thing. It might be it might not be in fund related. It might just be in idea. So this has been something that we ourselves as we are used to in terms of driving ourselves to be better version of ourselves, encouraging ourselves, making every one of us to be the best that we could ever be. So that has been the passion that we had. So why the learning is free is because we want to share out the love that has been going in us, that has been built in us, share across the world now. Because I remember when one of the co-founders as well, and when we were trying to learn a new skill like that, I know that he was good in one aspect of that was in your music producing. I was good in he was actually good in mastering. Then we were using FL Studio, we were using it for beat making. So and I was good in design very well. So he now tend to say, okay, I want to know how to design. So I feel like okay, let's swap. So I'm going to be teaching you design, so you teach me how to master music. So that's how we actually became the best friends, achieving, encouraging ourselves and learning new things. So it's a kind of bond that has been in us. So it's not just starting out as we just call it the Patience Academy now, because before it has started in us a long time ago. So that has been the reason why the learning is free, and it is totally free. So and people also ask us like, okay, what does the patience mean? So and we got a name from the Bible, Genesis 2:11. So the Pishon River was located in Eden. It is the one that flowed around the whole land of Avila, so where there is gold. So and the Pishon River is the first among the four rivers named that stem from the division of the river found in the Garden of Eden. So I believe we have many Bible scholars among us, so we can actually go ahead and read it. It's in Genesis 2:11. So I'll just like to, some people are on the queue. Let me just admit them in. All right. So also so there are some questions that were also asked again is, will there be a premium package for me to buy as time goes on? So as I mentioned, the Pishons Academy is free. It's going to be free as time goes on, and it will definitely be free. So there is no premium package elsewhere that you need to say, okay, now that you've completed the beginner's course, in order to move into the the practical aspect of it, because what we are going to be doing now is going to be theory, is going to be the foundation. So there will not be anything like, okay, you need to make any other payments before you can continue or commence the other parts of the training. So the Patience Academy is free and it is totally free. So once again, I'm glad we are here once again. I'm very happy that we could be able to make it here. So before further ado, so I'll just get started in the reason why we are here. So firstly, we are going to be going to the introduction to graphic design. So this was written by Don and Rosenberg, MCK. So it's good to learn how to design. But one thing that is tends to be common in design world is that they say it's better you know the rules than you know how to break it. So it's good for every designer to be able to know the rules of the game. So if you know the rules of the game, you can be able to bring in your own creativity and then imply all the knowledge that you have, imply your own skills, because every design has its own our own kind of what should I say, like we put our own kind of vibe into everything we do. So it's going to have your own kind of voice. So there are some designs that if I see a design, let's say, okay, I saw a design from Temitope Ailero, one of the co-founders. I felt like, oh, I love this design. I can be able to relate that. I know this kind of, I've seen this kind of design somewhere. It might not be that the design is the same thing, but in terms of the design has some, some features or some things I noticed that this style belongs to this person. So that's why the design has voices. So by the time you know the rules, you can be able to break it creatively. And that's why we actually have to take us through the introduction phase of graphic design. So we don't just jump into the practical aspect of it and start saying, okay, let us learn how to use Illustrator, let us learn how to use Photoshop. But it is good for every one of us to know, have a very solid knowledge about design so that we can be able to, achieve a very good thing. Because it's better we teach how to fish than just give you the fish. Okay, let's just learn, go straight to the practical, and you don't actually know what it means. So when you know the rules, you can be able to break it. So this takes us to an introduction to graphic design, where design actually started from. Sorry, let me admit the person coming in. All right. So an introduction to graphic design and its applications. So graphic design is an essence. Graphic design is the art or skill of combining text and pictures in advertisements, magazines, or books. So it's also known as visual communication, communication design, and commercial design. So modern day graphic design was birthed in the early 20th century. The touchstone in the 1936 signage created for the London Underground, considered a masterpiece of the modern era. So it's used a typeface specifically developed for the project by Edward Johnston, and it is still used up till today. So we can actually search the name of the person. The name of the person is Edward Johnston. So we can look the person up, and the first design that was actually done by this man. So that was how the design foundation was laid. So this also takes us into the application of graphic design. I know that graphic design is something that we see day to day. It's something, even the presentation we can see it's design, your on the signage that we see, the corporate identity, packaging, the printed materials, online art, banners, album covers, t-shirt branding, just name a few. There are many, even your mug branding, e- even the, let's say, even book cover design. So design is everywhere. You see design every day. Sometimes it's used to communicate a message, sometimes it's used to pass a message across, and sometimes it's used, in a way that you can be able to just find peace. Because when you go to the hospital, you can see some different designs, maybe art, illustration. Sometimes it's for calmness. So different designs add its voice. So application of designs adds many ways that is used. So it's just few of these that is listed, like signage, the corporate, and other aspect of it as well. So it's what we've been seeing day to day. It's what even drove us, drove this point, this passion in us that, okay, I actually want to learn how to make design, because you'll be seeing a good design. Because if you have been seeing a bad design out there, you will not feel, have the passion to learn. Because you'll be seeing a good design, this drove you to, okay, I want to learn how to make this thing. So it's this design, it's in many phases. So and slide 10 says graphic designer and duties and responsibilities. So and there are some duties that are assigned to on graphic design. So and they have responsibilities. So if you are going to take a design job, a design gig, there will be KPIs that will be given for you as tasks that okay, you are coming into this team. Let's say it's a company, you are coming into this team. There are some things that you must be able to do if you call yourself a graphic designer. So the responsibility and duties is going to be listed here. So it's just few, not everything there. So it said determine the scope of a project by meeting with clients or the creative director of a company. So a designer must be able to present possible design concept to clients or colleagues. You must be able to use digital tools and software such as illustration, photo editing, and layout software to create design. So that is going to take us to a part of the practical aspect of this course. So we have design layers for projects and many other aspects of KPIs and design tasks that if you call yourself a graphic designer, you must be able to do. So I'm going to move into the next slide. Now I said, the graphic design salary. Everybody wants to earn money. Everybody wants to make money. So though this is actually calculated in dollars, so the median annual salary of a graphic designer is actually 50,000 for $50,370. Top 10 annual salary is $85,760, and bottom 10% annual salary is $29,016. So this source is from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this was 2018. We all know Nigeria, maybe some people have, this is why we actually, after this course, our aim is also to teach people how to use this design to make money. So, and which we are going to be learning how we can be able to use these skills to make money on some freelance platform. We have Fiverr, we have Upwork, we have 99 Designs. But for now, we'll be focusing on Fiverr. When after the course, after you've successfully finished the course, after we've done the theoretical aspect and we finish the practical aspect as well, then you'll be able to learn how you can be able to use these skills to earn money. Either you are offering it, as a gig on any freelance platform, or you are looking out in maybe like a company that you actually want to work with, or you looking out for maybe like just taking some few gigs or just working for yourself. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, so it's going to be dependent on you on how you need to explore yourself. So graphic designer skills and competencies. So in terms of graphic design, you must, a graphic designer must be creative and artistic ability. So if you call yourself a graphic designer, you must be creative, you must have the artistic ability, you must be a good listener, you must be good in verbal communications because you need to be able to read the brief that is given to you. You need to understand what the task is all about before you can commence. Then you must be comfort with technology. So that's why we are actually making people to log into our Instagram handle and Facebook. It's not as if we wanted to stress anybody or want to grow followers. Yes, fine, we want to grow followers, but this is actually part and essential part of being a designer. You must be updated. You must stay updated in terms of trends. If not, you will actually be outdated. That's just the fact. If I'm going to see how design has been evolving from the past years that we've been into design, you don't just want to just say okay, let's say I started with CorelDRAW. Now with CorelDRAW I had to learn Illustrator, I had to learn InDesign, I had to learn and some maybe Audition. There are some aspect of as this design, this keeps growing because design grows a lot, and people and companies tends to increase their rate of them employing you. So you must not focus yourself on maybe like it's just one skill, like I just know how to use CorelDRAW. I don't need Photoshop, I don't need Illustrator, I'm fine with. No, bro. So cause you need to actually be able to learn some and many other softwares that will help you and even increase your chances of being employed or getting a gig. Do you understand? So a client might tell you that okay, I want maybe like you making a design. So CorelDRAW uses the file format for CorelDRAW is CDR. So the client might tell you that okay, I want an AI file. Fine, AI on CorelDRAW sometimes converts to AI, but there are some aspect of it that you might start, when you start dealing with practical, this other aspect is going to be explained. But I believe that when we reach the practical aspect, we understand about all these file formats and other aspect of it. So I'm going to be going into the design fundamentals. So this is actually a kind of what design consists of. So this resource is gotten from on LGS GCFG Global. So let's go into the design fundamentals. So when we are talking about design fundamentals, they are the foundation of every visual medium. from fine art to modern web design. They have even, present in similarly unimportant details like the fonts that make up the compositions. You talk about the line, you talk about the shape, you talk about a form, you talk about texture, you talk about balance. So when you see a design, it might just be, oh, this is a nice design. So there are some parts of the design, or let's say there are some parts of things that make up a design. So we talk about the line, you talk about the shape, you talk about the form, you talk about the texture, and you talk about the balance. So in this course now, we're going to be talking about all how all these things comes together to form a whole. So we're going to move into line. So what is a line? So a line is a shape that connects two or more points. So it can be, fat, thin, wavy, or jagged. So let me admit this person in, please. All right. So and every possibility gives the line a slightly different feel. So we can see the image illustration of the line. So I'll move into this aspect of it. So lines appear frequently in design, for example, in drawings and illustrations. So they are also common in graphic elements like texture, patterns, and backgrounds. We can also see this image right here. You can see the pattern that is above the header menu before the image. You can see that it is made up of lines. So all this line, it can actually be it can serve as a pattern, it can serve as a background, and it can serve as texture in design. So also lines can be used in more humble compositions for organizations to lay emphasis or decoration. So we can all see this, this chart that shows the parenting of linking to one other maybe manager, to the buyer, to the listing. So these lines can tend to illustrate or show a kind of information or pass a kind of information across a design. So it can be used in charts. You can see lines in charts, almost lines, it's common in chart as well. So also, line when working with lines, pay attention to things like the weights. We have the weights, we have the texture, we have the color, and we have the style. So just as mentioned, we have the weight here, we have the weight, we have the jagged, and we also have the pattern feel of the line. So line can be done in many ways as well. So then I'm going to moving into shape. So what do we mean by shape? A shape is any two-dimensional area with a recognizable boundary. So this includes circles, squares, triangles, and so on. So we can also there are some aspect of shapes that you might not actually take note of till it is mentioned. So sometimes it can be arc, sometimes you might decide to cut it off, but when we reach the practical aspect of design, we tend to understand or why how this all these informations comes in handy. So it's always good for us. That's why we are trying to build, make all every one of us to understand how the theoretical aspect of design is, and be able to have a good and solid foundation. So the next time you are looking at a design out here, you'll be able to list out that, okay, I can find the line, okay, this is the cycle. So you can be able to understand what makes a good design, because if you understand what makes a good design, you can be able to know that you are in a good shape to get started. So what you just need is just basic. By the time you understand what forms a design, you can be able to sit down and make a good design. So that's why it's good to have a good foundation in anything that we want to do. It is important that we have a good foundation. So in terms of shape as well, shapes fall into two distinct categories. We have the geometric, which it's called, or regular, which is called regular. We have organic, where the shapes are more freeform. So we can see the geometric, we can see the icons here, and for the organic shapes as well, we can see the icon. So we see the love, we can notice the love, we can notice the apple for the organic, and we can notice the star, the triangles, the square, and in this shape that we're talking about. So shapes are vital part of communications, ideas visually. So they give images heft and make them recognizable. So we understand street signs, symbols, and even abstract art largely because of shapes. So we can see these signs, this stop sign. We can see different shapes that makes up a whole. We can see the icon of a mail. We can see a phone. We can see a website, and also the image that is there. We can see that this image was being made with shape. So these are abstract designs as well. So I'll be moving into shape as well. So the second part says shapes have a surprising number of uses in everyday design. So they can help you organize or separate content, create simple illustrations, or just add interest to your work. So see if you can spot any example in the image below. So though we are muted, I would just like us to see. So we can see that you can be able to notice some shapes in this design. the ice cubes and the footer and below the name, the part at which they had to, you had segmented for the informations. I can see the circle where the numbers are. So shapes makes up a design. So by the time you see designs, you can be able to easily recognize, okay, this part makes this part makes this part. So it will help you to better understand how you can be able to make a good design. So shapes are important because they are the foundation of so many things. So you learn to look for them. Okay, it says learn to look for them in other designs, and soon you start seeing them everywhere. So that's the fun part of it. So if you can be able to, know shapes, you can be able to find them in any aspect of, the designs. You can be able to find them wherever you are. When you see a design, you can be able to recognize them, that okay, this has this particular shape and this also has this particular shape. So we have in this design, we can be able to see that there are some shapes that makes up a whole in this. So we are going into form. So form, when we are talking about form, when a shape becomes 3D, we call it a form. So we can see that this image that is attached is a 3D image. So forms make up a variety of things in the real world, including sculptures, architecture, and other three-dimensional objects. So also, however, forms don't have to be three-dimensional shapes. They can also be implied through illustration using techniques like light, shadow, and perspective to create the illusion of depth. So we can see the image here that, it's not 3D actually, but when we start dealing with the practical aspect of design, we'll be able to recognize this shape better, because this design is made up of, the hue. It deals with the, the hue and saturation. It uses the what's it called? So it's actually done in vector. This is a vector, it's a 3D representation, but it is done in vector style. So it just consists of you playing around with the shades and the light of and the light value of the image. So when we move into the practical aspect, we'll be able to understand how you can be able to create things like this and how all these things comes in handy. So form in two-dimensional design, form makes realism possible. So without it, renderings like the image below, a ball with highlights and shading simply wouldn't be the same. So this is actually a image that was, that they applied the essence of form on it. So we can see the highlight, the touch of highlight. We can see like it has a drop shadow. Let me just maximize it so we can see that it has a drop shadow. We can see it has it's been shaded. So without the shading of this, these elements of this shape, it won't form a form. So a form has it add realism. So when we are talking about form, there's realism in form. So, and even images that are less realistic use similar techniques to create dimension. Below, the lighting and shading are stylized but still hints at form and depth. So we can say that it's not a 3D, but this is a vector. We can say a vector 3D because it uses this, it uses form to be able to demarcate where the impact of light falls on the object. So that's where we have where this, and this highlight is on. We also have this where it has the mom where the shadow falls. So it's used to create depth in a design or in an image. So that's what form is. So in everyday composition, the purpose of form is the same, but on a smaller scale. For example, a simple shadow can create the illusion of layers or give an object a sense of place. Because if you want to say, okay, I want to put this, let's take for instance this object now. You can see that this object has a 3D drop shadow. Without the shadow, if we take off this shadow, the image might actually look flat, but this shadow creates a sense of form on it, so it makes it look like a 3D. So it can be able to have, this form to be able to make it more realistic. That's why you can see designs. You will start noticing that you see designs that has drop shadows for it to add the form to make it more realistic. So I'll be going into texture now. So texture is the physical quality of a surface. Like form, it can be part of three-dimensional objects, as in the example below, a small prickly cactus in a shining ceramic pot. So this is what we meant by texture. Texture, it has it's just like a form as well. So it's part of the three-dimensional object as well. So let's go to the next slide so we can understand better. So, or it can be implied through illustration, suggesting that it would have texture if it existed in real life. So we can see this image here. This is a vector image. It's an illustration, but they made use of vector, and we can actually see the use of form in the image as well. So we can see that we had the shadow to make it more realistic and look 3D. So texture in design adds depth and tactility to otherwise flat images. Objects can appear smooth, rough, hard, or soft depending on the elements at play. So we can see this image here that you're looking at the dog that is here without form, it looks flat. So when we start adding shadows and we start adding elements and making use of the illustration of forms, making use of forms on it, then we are going to bring this image back to life. So that is what form is all about. If this image, this wall image, has been, I know we didn't use the element of form on it, then it will just look flat and nothing will be said about it. So when we are applying texture, where we are applying form, it creates this sense of illusion of 3D and it makes it more realistic. So texture also for beginners, textures make great backgrounds images and can add a lot of interest to your work. So you look closely and you may find texture in unexpected places like distressed fonts and smooth and glossy icons. So let me just zoom into this image so we can see where this texture is being used. We can see the background on the this is a user interface, we call it UI. So we can see the texture at the background of the image. Then we have the services about contact on it, and we also have, you can all see the shapes. You can all see shapes at work as well. So we can see line at work as well. So there are many aspects of what we have been talking about that is on this design. We have the line, we have the square grid, we have the rectangle, we have the circle, and also and the texture which we are talking about. So texture tends to give, makes your image and or fonts look more interesting, because this texture can be applied as a background or you can overlay it on your text as well. So texture, just you just be careful not to go overboard with textures, because too much of texture in a single design can quickly become overwhelming. So let's take a closer look at this, at this design. So we can see the contact us, how it looks. Look, too much of texture. We already have it. We already have a texture at the background. We already have the texture on the rectangle grid as well. Then having the icons. Then we also have it on the on text as well. So making use of text too much, just as we know that too much of everything is not good. So when you tend to use too much of elements in your design, this might make your design, too overwhelming. And I know that this happens to, getting started as a designer as well. When you're just starting out as a design, you want to make use of everything that you have learned. You make use form, you use texture, you want to put everything at work. It is actually normal. But as time goes on, you tend to grow and understand why too much of everything on your design might actually be okay. So in terms of logo design, there's a line that we always say, a popular quote that we always say. You say it's not about what you can add, but it's about what you can remove. So when you're talking about design, look at your design in a way that, okay, what can I actually add or remove to simplify this design that I have done? So if you start looking at your design in this way, you then start to understand that there are some parts of your design that you don't actually to use too much of some things in it. Then you start understanding, how design works, and then you will start seeing how you improve in your design periodically. So I'll be talking about balance now. So what is balance? So balance is the equal distortion distribution of visual weight. So and more specifically, how much any one element attracts the viewer's eye. So balance can be affected by many things. We are including color, size, the number, and the negative space as well. So sorry, let me admit this person. Okay, thought someone was trying to join. Okay, so so this is part of it, because we think we need to understand all how balance works, because balance in design is very, very important. Just as the way you need to know that I need to use this texture here, I don't need to use the texture here, I need to use form here. It's very understandable that you know balance. When you balance everything that you've done, when you balance your texture, when you balance the form, when you balance the shape, when you balance the line, then you tend to have a good design, because every good design that have been seen out there makes up a whole. Please, let's all confirm if you can still hear me, please. Hello, please. One person can just unmute and let me know if we can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. It's just that
Yeah, we can hear you, sir, but the network is breaking.
Okay, okay. Is it better now?
Exactly.
All right. Can we all hear me better
it's
now? Is it
still
better now?
yeah, yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you
yes, sir.
clearly now.
All right, beautiful.
We can hear you, sir.
I guess next is the
Yes.
network. All right. So lately the network has been acting funny. So and we can't because of network postpone our our session. So all right. So let me move to the next slide. So and balance, mastering balance can be tricky for beginners because it does take some intuition. So luckily the design would world is full of examples that can help you understand its different iterations. So and there's one thing I would just like us to, this is just like a bonus. I'll call it a bonus. When you're talking about design, I want you to know that every good design started from somewhere. Every good design was actually seen somewhere before, and what makes up a whole in design is that we call it like, designers tend to use mood board. There's something we call mood board. So a mood board is a way where you can actually put together a lot of ideas. You can collate a lot of ideas. You can see a movie poster outside. You can just take a picture of it. You can see maybe like a wall design. You can take a picture of it, and now use everything that you have gathered so far to make a design. So it's just like the circle goes around. I might actually see your design. I feel like, oh, I love this design. I'll keep this design. Maybe just take a picture of it. Oh, I love this part that the person used. The typography work is actually cool here. So I take the picture of the typography and add that to my mood board. So that's how designers do. You tend to look for. Let's say that, okay, I'm trying to make a art. Maybe like I want to make a poster design, maybe a flyer. So what you first do is that you need to. That's why we actually need to stay online. You need to be connected. You need to be updated with the latest trends. So cause you need to first browse and just come up with ideas before you can. Sometimes we call something like is it design blockage like that. So when the time when you just lost some ideas or you just don't know what to do. So that is why even I would advise, like, when we are starting out, we actually need to get a lot of references. So that's why this part was talking about balance. So and if it says that when you see different, the word is full of different examples. Make sure that you actually have references. If let's say you are just starting and you want to make a business card design, go online. There are many resources for you. Search on maybe like a business card design. It doesn't mean that you want to replicate what was done, but for you to know or and have idea on how you want to put your ideas down. Sometimes you might actually like a font that was used in a design, not the actual design. Sometimes you might like how the color usage of a design. That is it too. Then you can actually like the interface that was done there. So you now take all these three parts you've gathered so far and then make a craft out of it. So that's why I say, they're stealing in design, design is stealing. So that's what they talk about, like, because you generate ideas and knowledge from some created piece already. So when you now create another piece, it's going to be different from the three that you join together, and it's now going to form a masterpiece. When another person see this design, be like, wow, this is beautiful. Not knowing that all these things that was done and comprises of maybe three designs. So this person to take your own design, analyze that, oh, I love the way this guy used the color. Okay, take another design, make use of the font. So that's how design goes all around, all around. So there's no designer that doesn't have a part where it gets his sources or get inspirations, because sometimes it might be lots of inspirations that, okay, what should I do? So that's why you stay updated with the latest trends. And sometimes I might have seen a design for so long, so it will just come as a flash, as a flash to me, maybe during design, like, okay, seems I actually noticed a design like that before. So I'll now start recreating, the way I want my own illustration to look, and based on what I've seen, and I'll create another masterpiece. So make sure that you stay updated in latest trend. So I would like to move to the next slide. So symmetrical designs are the same or similar on both sides of an axis. They'll feel balanced because each side is effectively the same, if not identical. So there's something that we call symmetrical. So this image is showing symmetric. So it's similar, but in both axes. Because let's say that you just divide a part into two. Let's say what can I even make this like an example? Let's say, okay, an A4 paper. So you can fold an A4 paper in equal parts, so that is symmetry to each other. So they have similar, balance. So that is what they call symmetry. So and asymmetrical designs are different, but the weight is still evenly distributed. So the composition is balanced because it calls attention to the right things. So in this example, the person's name and company's logo. So we can see that the person's name, you can see where the name falls in, and the company's logo, like, it is symmetric to each other. That's why it makes use of balance as well. So it's still under the heading of balance. So we are talking of balance. There are different ways you can balance. So we call it, in terms of design, you must make sure that you have all these elements set in place, because this is what make a cool and nice design. You can see that few informations was used here, but we can see that this is actually, on point. So I'll be going over to the, to the rule of thoughts. So the rule of thirds, many people, including designers and photographers, use a strategy called the rule of thirds. This imagines your work area divided into a 3 by 3 grid. The focal point of the image is placed on or near one of the grid lines, creating visual balance with the rest of the space. So it's just like a three lines, like it's, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in terms of photography, photographers actually understood this better. I know that some of us would have, seen this kind of, shots before, when the image falls at the left hand side. Even in movies that we watch, you see that when they are trying to introduce you to the scene, so they tend to focus, like, the subject is going to be at the left hand side, which is going to be like the three-third of the grid, while the other informations, maybe like the background, would be at the right or left hand side. It's used in movies, it's used in photography, and it's also used in design. So it's actually, a kind of a focal point to talk about, the main focus of what we are talking about. So that's what the rule of thought is used. We can also notice that we have rule of thoughts in our phones as well. So we cannot just, check up our phone camera. You see that you can be able to see the thoughts. You see the, I guess it's a rule of thoughts that was said there, or a grid. If you turn on your grid, you'll be able to see this same line. So it's used in designs, it's used in photography, and it's even used in movies. So we find this type of composition appealing because, according to studies, the human eye naturally follows this path when scanning a design. So, that's how, based on analogy, based on what people have seen the studies so far, they see that, okay, human eye is attached or attracted to a particular place before it now goes into the main design. So I'll be going to put in everything, all this what we'll be talking, form, shapes, texture, putting all these things together. So how does it come and form a whole? So that's what we are going to be looking out in this presentation, in this next slide. So the fundamentals of design are all about, the bigger picture. In other words, learning to appreciate the many small details that make up every composition is very important. When we see a design out there, you can be able to analyze a design and understand what was done, and you'll be able to understand how you can be able to use all these things to form a whole. So from this design that we can see, let me make it, let me maximize it. So we can see the shape, we can see the form, we can see the balance, we can see the texture, and we can see the line. So all these things form, and make a whole. We can see the shape, the form, the balance, the texture in that way, and nothing is too much. Nothing was, overused to make it overwhelming. So this insight can be applied to almost any type of project, whether you are creating your own graphics or just looking for simple ways to enhance your work. So, all these things, putting everything together, just as I said earlier, putting all these things together, form a whole, and it makes your design to look good. So if you can be able to apply all what you've learned, all what you've seen, and put it into practice, you'll see that as time goes on, even within a short period of, time, you'll be able to see how improved you are if you are able to understand how all these shapes makes a whole. So it is very important for us to understand all this aspect of design, because as I said, it's good to have a good foundation. When you have a good foundation, you can be able to understand that, okay, I need to use this in my design. I only used to use a texture, because it's not every design that use a texture. It's not every design that you use a line. It's not every design that you use form. So it is very important that you know when and how to use a particular element in the design. So that will make you more creative and be able to, make your work to be, wholesome, and, to the best that you ever thought that you actually want it to be. So I'll say we've come to the end of the class. So, and we hope that you enjoy learning the fundamentals of design, because in the next coming classes, we are going to be dealing with typography, we're going to be dealing with colors, we're going to be dealing with how you can be able to use image, on your design, because we can say that, in every creative, imagery is important. Is even understand it's very important for you to know how to use your typography well, because typography makes a whole lot of sense in design. You need to be able to know where you need to use left alignment, you need to use, center alignment, you need to be able to know where you need to use the right alignment, and also maybe like justification, and also full justification. So there are many aspects of design that you actually need to understand, and these fundamentals that we have taken so far has already given you a start, like just like a kickstart, so that you can be able to know by the time you move into the other aspect of it, then you can be able to know that, okay, this is what was actually done to make this design look good. So I hope you all enjoy this class. So this part is going to be for feedbacks, questions, and if there's any other things I would like to know. So if anybody wants to ask any question, we can actually unmute our mic and be able to ask any question we'd like to ask. So thank you all for joining. So it's part for the question now. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you too. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you. So does anyone have any question before we call it a day or a night?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, please.
Okay, please. What week will the practical aspects start?
Oh, the practical aspect is going to be after, because there's going to be another class tomorrow. I believe that we all have the calendar with us. So
Yes.
after the one thing I said is that as much as the practical is important, that's how the the theoretical aspect too is important. So the theory aspect should be like it should end by end of this month. So then we start the practical
Okay.
the next month as well. Because in the practical we're going to be
Okay.
dealing with softwares, and we will be informing us ahead for for us to get some softwares, if because our plan is to send every one of us a software which we are going to be doing so. But there are some aspect of it, like let's talk about Illustrator now. Illustrator is kind of a large file, so we discuss about that in the group, of course. So we discuss and can be able to find a solution to that.
Hello.
We are going to be sharing us the software. Yeah. Can,
Okay. Okay. I can hear you.
all right. All right.
Okay.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Amen. Anybody with any
Good.
question?
Some questions. Hello. Good.
Yeah.
Questions are here on the chat box.
Okay, on the chat
So
box.
we
Okay,
have
let me just go in.
can we get materials? The other person is saying, will certificates be issued at the end?
Oh, can you please give me
Someone
the?
also.
Can you be? Hello, Bro Bram.
Yes, yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, can you please be calling the question one after the other so I can provide adequate answers to every question?
Okay. The first question says, sir, can we get the materials?
Okay, when we are talking about materials, are we talking about the practical materials that we used in this presentation? Or yeah. Are we talking about the materials that was used in this presentation in terms of what we discussed here, right?
To ask of that, can we have the presentation slide?
All right, sure, sure. We will, we will provide to you, what you need to know. So we are going to be sharing that with you.
Okay.
Dorian is the bar. Okay.
So which other question do we have on the chat box? Hello, Bro Bram, are you still there?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Ask a question.
All right. Please, can I make my point?
Yeah, sure, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, I'm on the walk, so I'm very sorry for the side noise. Thank you. I really appreciate. Though I joined late, but I want to ask: will the video with the recording of this section be available on Telegram?
Okay, thank you for the question. So for now, the platforms that we are making use of is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. But to discuss more about that, we actually need to put this out on our YouTube. So maybe towards the end of the theory course, we can put on our YouTube channel for anyone that missed out on some and be able to just go back and visit again. Yeah.
All right. Please, one more question, sir.
Okay.
Can I go on?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, you made mention of some key points,
Okay.
some key points of some things that make up a design.
Okay.
So sorry, I could not get everything. So I'm suggesting if you can drop those points, like you made mention of texture. At the time you made mention of hue and saturation, kind of thing like that. As in all those points, forms. And hey, you made mention of forms.
Okay.
Yes, as in all those points, if you can just drop them in the group, perhaps personally we could actually go back and check online for
Learn more about
a
it, right?
better, yes, and learn more, yes, to get better understanding. Because presently I just follow the class halfway, but I feel that okay, if those points that make up today's class, if they can be dropped, we can, person like me, I can go back online and just go and check to add to what you've given me today. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion actually. So we are going to look into it as well. So facilitators are actually coming up at the main. We're going to look for a way around it to keep the class interesting. We are also looking for a way that we can actually make the class more interactive and necessary. During class hours, on our WhatsApp, we'll be sharing a loads of it, depending the time that we are having the next class. So about the point that has been made and some other necessary things that you need to know in order to do it. So that's a very good suggestion you started with. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
All right. All right. Anybody with any question again?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello. Yeah, thank you. Please, my question would be at every end of every classes,
Okay.
can you always I kind of bring out questions for us so as just to capture our mind if truly we are following you.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. That's a nice suggestion as well. A kind of a questionnaire where people will be able to, understand and know, if actually they've understood what we are talking
Yes,
about in the
just
class.
just just to test just
Yeah,
to test our attention,
yeah,
following because you can't just be presenting for like 30 for like close to an hour, and at the end we are only grabbing little, and at the end of the whole thing we are being tested. Many of us are just having a grade of 30 or 40, which is not, for me, it's not encouraging enough. At least we should up to the least person should up to here mark up to like 60%, 70%, or even closer to 80 and 90%.
okay, all right. Thank you for the suggestion. We are going to actually work around that as well. It's that should be one of the things that we should do. So we'll look around and see what we can do, so we can be able to come up with a questionnaire and people will be able to answer and know where they fall in. All right, thank you so much for the question. Yeah,
All right. Good evening, everyone.
yeah. Good evening, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
All
can hear you
right.
clearly.
I have okay. I have a question.
Okay,
You mentioned something about mood board. You
okay.
said
Mood
it is
board.
used to
Yeah,
collate ideas.
yeah.
Yes. So in writing, all right, in
Okay,
copywriting or whatsoever, you're writing or you're running a project, and you pick someone else's work, and you're unable to cite this person. Or perhaps I was on LinkedIn and a lady posted another person's artwork,
okay,
making it presenting as though it was hers. And somebody said, this work does not belong to you, it belongs to so person. So I had to
okay,
go on that person's page that was referred to as the original designer. And
okay,
I find it difficult to find. But I had to tell the person I saw the art on her page, and I said, Madam, this is time for you to justify your claim that you own this design, or else it will be considered as, is it, should I use the word, if it is necessary, thieving, that you stole somebody's work. So
okay.
in this case, when you see somebody's design, you see this, you see that, and we are talking of elements, you pick somebody's part of somebody's design. Can you be sued for it?
All right.
If the owner finally says that, oh, this is part of my design, can you be sued for it?
Okay.
Can you
All
for
right.
it? I don't
Beautiful.
want
Beautiful.
that to happen to me.
So, thank you so much for the question. So,
All
if I
right,
need
you're
to answer the question correctly, so if we are talking about creating a mood board, every artist, has a mood board. Let's talk about people doing UI and UX design. Even if you are taking a course, they will tell you that we have some platforms that that even specially made for you to gather on what's it called mood boards together. We have Miller Notes and some other aspects of mood board and so applications or online platforms like that. So we are talking about mood board. Mood board is not about you, you know recreating an original artwork that was done in any way that shows that this doesn't actually belong to you. Let's look at, in terms of design. You cannot tell me that, okay, I saw a design that has a blue color. So when I now make a design in blue color, that means it is your artwork, or it is your design, or that, that art piece belongs to you. So if not that the person has actually taken one aspect of it, let's say that, okay, the person used an image that was actually done by the, by the artist, and then you use it to form a design. Of course, that doesn't belong to you. You need to, so there's something we call attribution. So you need to attribute that to the person that owns the artwork, because you've used an
Reference.
element in what was actually originally created by the person. So we are talking about you setting a mood board. A mood board is just like a collation of maybe like even up to 50 designs. Let's say like minimum of, let's say minimum of 5 designs or 3 designs. So when you're not creating a mood board, you might actually like a font or a color out of a particular design, not the image, not the elements. There's, let's say, okay, for the presentation I'm making now, there's an illustration. This illustration might actually be copyrighted. So you now crop out my image and you now use it to make another design. You're still using my design because you've taken an element that doesn't belong to you, that was originally created by another person. So that's why you have to, give reference back to the person that owns the artwork. Hope that's actually brings clearance to the, to the question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
understand.
that is the thing. When you
Yeah,
are
I
copying a
understand.
design, when you are trying to make a design from another design, make sure that you are not taking out an element that was originally created by the artist. Is either you fall in love with the color that was used here, you fall in love with the arrangement, or when we talk about alignment, you like how it was structured. So when you are structuring your own design, you use the same structure. Everyone can use any structure. You can look at this design and use the same structure. That doesn't mean you steal my design. Do you understand? So you can actually steal any part
Okay.
of you that you will be recreating yourself, not you taking out an actual element from the design that has already been done. So it implies to every other aspect of it. Hope that answers the question correctly.
Yeah, of course. One last thing.
Okay.
I saw on Canva, whether it's Canvas or Canva, but
Yeah.
it's an application for you
Yeah.
for
Canva. Yeah.
design, and yeah, Canva. So you might also have to use maybe uh pictures from, is this stock
Yeah. We have
something?
stock images. Yeah.
Yeah, stock images.
Yeah.
So you can use those images for free and you're fine, right?
Okay. Fine. So in terms of images, that's why there's another session for images. So during these images, we're going to be talking about stock images. So generally, we have free
Okay,
stock images and we have paid stock images. If you want to get
sure.
images from stock image, from Shutterstock, it is paid. You need to pay. We
Yeah,
have
shoot the
free
stock.
other, on mediums. We have other free other sites that you can actually get free images that you might actually tend to give attributions, or give a shout out to the person that actually owns the image. So the images on some platforms are free. Let's talk about on Pexels. We have Pexels. We have Unsplash, and we have what's it called? And also there are other many, and variants of, a website that you can actually get free images from. So if you can be able to walk around those and see the images that you loved here, you can use those images for, for paid or for anything without you being sued. So, but if you are going into
Okay.
using images of Shutterstock, you already see that their own images are already watermarked, so you cannot do much for it. So there are images that, they are paid, they are free images. So when they are taking it, you need to make sure that it is free and not copyrighted.
Hello, good.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So does then anyone ask any question again?
Yeah, yeah. Hello, hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, please.
Okay. I just want to, get clearance on that on the question the other fellow asked.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to tell me if my understanding is complete. You get.
Okay.
Okay, let's take for instance, you said as long as you're not using the elements
Okay.
of a design,
All right.
you are fine.
Yeah.
So you are saying, for example, I'm a builder, I build houses.
Okay.
So as long as I am not directly copying the architectural design of another person's house.
Yeah.
I can just admire the color,
Yeah, you can admire the colors,
the
you can admire the structure, maybe
yeah,
even the lighting settings.
the
Yeah,
painting, probably the gates
yeah, the gates, the structure of the gate, where they position the gates.
or the fence.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm not touching the architectural design, I'm fine.
Yes, as long as you are not touching the architectural design, as long as you are not taking a part that you know that this thing was actually done by this person, and it has some kind of
Okay.
contributions to it. So when we are going to move into the practical aspect to understand more about this aspect of mood boards. So I'll make sure that for this question, I'm going to make during these sessions, I'll make sure that we come along with a kind of creating mood boards, and also I can make some element out of the mood board without you being taking something that doesn't belong to you in a design. So I believe that we'll be able to cover
Okay.
that part here.
Okay. Thank you.
We call it stealing like a designer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Any other question, please? Because we'll be rounding up soon now. So I guess we are done with the questions. There's no other questions.
Can I quickly ask one last question, please?
Okay.
All right, you mentioned something about
Yeah.
symmetrical design where you have equal parts and balance. So I'm able to pick all these things because I was writing down. So
Okay.
in you mentioned an A4 paper. So if you try to make like a triangle out of a square, you know when you make a square, you divide it into two, you have equal
Yeah.
parts. Then out of that equal parts, you decide to fold one part, like more like making it look like a triangle.
Okay.
Does it still give you that symmetrical
Okay. In
design? Does
short,
it still
when we
make
say
any sense?
symmetrical, if you're talking about symmetrical, it's talking about let's say from the talking about the width, the height having same equal parts, same equal sizes. So when we're talking about
Yeah,
symmetrical, that means that the other part is equal to the other part as well. It's just like you dividing four. So we
a
are saying we are
book.
going to divide four. So it's going to be 2 divided by
Mm,
4, right? If we divide 4 divided by 2, so we're going to have 2 and we're going to have 2 here, right?
yeah.
Yes, that's how symmetrical works. So each part must actually be, the equal part of the another one too. So it's just like
Okay.
folding a two paper and just, in equal sizes into two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can have two and a half plus
Yeah.
one and a half.
So one thing is that in terms of design, when we move to the practical, everything of this is a theory. So this comes more handy. Some other things that we said here might not actually make a sense now. So by the time that you move into the practical aspect, when you start dealing with alignments, you now understand what is all these symmetrical aspects. Sometimes you might feel that this English is like it's too much, but by the time you start design, you understand that every these small elements has a meaning, and you can be able to understand. You understand too.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right. So I believe that we are all done with the question that we need to ask now. So the other session is going to start, and I believe we all have the timetable. So the next session we're having is tomorrow as well, same time. So let's endeavor to all join again and be ready to prepare for the class, ask questions if there's any part that we are not understanding, and if there's any other feedbacks that we need to give on the group as time goes on. Let's also make sure that we give we give all this feedback on the group, on the main group as well. So if there's any other thing that just like the feedbacks that people were giving in terms of okay, let us do this, let us do that. So if there's any idea that you have, please do share on the group with us. And also we are going to take note of the for the hints that was given to us, for the suggestions about dropping some questionnaires for people to answer, to be able to know if they actually understood what was being taken today, and also a form of us dropping hints about what was taken today as well. So we are going to put all these things in place and make sure that we all understand and we all get a very good deal out of what we have been learning. So I'll say once again, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate your time, the efforts. We all know that you have to subscribe to come online. So we actually appreciate every one of us that has been able to join. So let's make sure that we actually, hint people that are not able to join us now as well, to let them know that the class has been going on, so they don't tend to miss, because there's a lot of things that needs to be discussed. Like, people are going to, just start from the beginner and move into intermediate. When you have someone that is guiding you through a particular thing, you don't know what it actually means, because it's going to fasten your knowledge. Let's say a person that has been learning how to design and doesn't know where to start designing now, and doesn't have any guidance. You'll have to beat around the bush, look at the bad, then now fall to where you need to actually start learning from. So when you have a guidance, because the Pishons Academy is going to be like a place where we can be able to express ourselves, a place where you can be able to come in and share the ideas and what you have, and ask any question. You might be having difficulties in design. The group is always open. Maybe when we reach the practical aspect that you are not getting some point of it, you can come into the Patience Academy and ask that, okay, sorry, I need a guide in this design I'm making. We take it up from there, let you know what you can be able to do better. So it's going to be life, it's going to be fun. So, and this is just the beginning. So I believe that as time goes on, we tend to enjoy it more, and it's going to be more fun. So thank you all for joining once again. So we're going to meet tomorrow. So let's all check our calendars and make sure that we join early as well. Thank you all. So thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining once again.
And we
You're
can also
welcome.
serve as a reminder for others that are not joining. So you can just share your what you've learned today on the group, and that will serve as a reminder and will also motivate others as well. So that's just like a form of update. So good night, everyone. Me too. By God's grace, to close. Any other thing good?
No, no. Fine. Thank you.
We end the meeting.
All right. Thank you all for joining. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, sir.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, sir. Good night, sir.
That guy. Emoji that guy. I don't know. Emoji Nick King was plug your bum for you. I not go know how they present in your auditorium. I'm yet. Ah, Emoji they talk like that. Oh, it does very work. Allowed to exit for every one of them, because some people are not. And end the call for everyone. Very good. Thank you. Stop.